Okay. Record. There we go. Welcome back to Witch Hat Atelier. We are on episode 10, coming up towards the end of the season here. And I'm sitting here knowing what's going to be happening going forward in the story quite a ways, wondering where exactly are they going to cut it? Because there are a couple of points coming up where they could very naturally leave a stopping point, and I'm curious to see which one they choose. But before we get into any of that, welcome along to a reaction on the TBSkyen YouTube channel, the lazy channel, where I do whatever the fuck I want, and what I want is to watch anime. And because I don't want to do a whole bunch of fucking editing to try and get around copyright claims, just to get copyright claimed anyway, which is what usually happens, I'm not going to show you the anime that we're reacting to today very much, except for a few bits. You're going to have to show it to yourself. So you're going to have the anime on your own screen and stay in sync with me by the simple convenience of a countdown and some subtitles that'll be on screen, as well as the timestamp in the top left corner. I'll say 3, 2, 1, go whenever I need us to go, and then I'll say 3, 2, 1, pause whenever I need us to pause. And we stay in sync, and you can more or less tell what I'm talking about, and everything works out that way, and everyone's happy. Well, maybe except for you, because this is very inconvenient and tedious and troublesome for you to deal with. But that's just the way it goes. If you want it to be less inconvenient, come join the Discord. We have a bunch of perfectly regular, ordinary people who are normal, who can be trusted with your health and safety. Don't worry, it's completely fine. They are not any kind of a cult or alien invasion or anything like that. They have assured me. We had them tested the other day. You can come join them and watch these reactions be recorded live, and that's easier, more convenient. I post links to the Discord every once in a while. You can also become a member of the channel for about $1 a month if you want, and then you'll get access to some more convenient versions of these reactions that are easier to watch. But anyway, that's the self-promotion and advertisement. You don't need to do any of that. You can just stay right here and do it with the countdown system, and it goes like this. 3, 2, 1, go. He is really the perfect master for Coco. Three, 2, 1, pause. Yeah, I see chat is there ahead of me, but look, an old woman, an actual old woman. It is a thing, like, again, dumping on isekai as often do, but just like the cheaper sort of seasonal anime, when they need a woman to be old, air quotes, it's like, yeah, it's a woman, and then she has like a line. There's an line on her face, and now that's an old woman because there's a line on her face, and everyone else looks nebulously somewhere between the ages of 13 and 21, right? Like, everyone else has like identical smooth anime face, right? This is an old woman, right? Like, this is a woman where, like, you can see that aging is sort of taking its toll on her. This is a face with some history. And part of the reason why this is, of course, is that the more lines you put on something, the more troublesome it is to animate, right? Like, the more difficult it is to animate the thing in motion, right? That's part of why the cloth animation that's all over Witch Hat Atelier is so impressive, is because it's a fuck of a lot of lines, and the more of them that you use, the more complicated the thing becomes to move in space, right? And move relative to other things. So you can see that these shots here where she's in, they're not really showing her face when she's moving, when she's walking, when she's doing things, but they are showing it when she's standing still, right? And we don't need to animate the face doing too much rotation. These little optimizations where you sort of avoid, like, these little shortcuts and corner cuts where you make things a little easier on yourself by studiously avoiding a complicated object that's difficult to render in motion. And it's like, that's the tension at the heart of all animation, right? Like, the tension at the heart of all animation is, how much money do you have? How much time do you have? And, like, what are you trying to accomplish, right? Because any animation studio with half-decent animators could put out fucking Thief and the Cobbler level, everything animated on ones, absolutely astonishingly beautiful, everything looks like 3D. They could achieve that if you gave them 10 years and an infinite budget. Sure, they could make a 20-minute anime episode that was, like, looked fucking more realistic than realism. They could. But you don't have infinite money, and you don't have 10 years to do one anime episode. You have whatever number of months is allocated in your animation budget, right? Like, to pay all the animators and pay for studio time and staff time and all of the things that are necessary. So there is, in all animation, and this goes to 2D, it goes to 3D, it goes to stop motion, always there is this tension of how much money are you willing to spend? How much time are you willing to take, right? And what are you actually trying to accomplish, right? And there's this tension of, yes, we could spend a bunch of money and time making something more impressive or doing one thing more fancily, but that costs something. Every decision you make, everything you decide to put extra effort into is effort that you can't spend somewhere else, right? It all comes with a cost. It's always a trade-off. And that's part of why cheaper, like the sort of cheaper seasonal anime, the slightly sloppy isekai, and like the sort of cheaper fantasy anime, and just anime in general, that's part of why old people in those anime tend not to look, old in the way that people do. It's because if you cut down on the number of wrinkles, if you give them a blanker face with fewer details, well, that's easier to animate. And you can save some money there, and you can put that money somewhere else to animate Sakuga or do some cool fight scenes or whatever. So there's always trade-offs. And I bemoan that a little bit. Right? I bemoan that a little bit because it is a thing. Part of the reason why anime character design tends to be so fucking bland, why anime characters tend to be these interchangeable, like, moe blobs and like protag-coons without very much physical distinctiveness, without bodies, without faces, without, like, real uniqueness outside of just the outfit that they're wearing. Part of that is the constant, like, decades of erosion in the industry that is caused by this constant pressure to simplify character designs and simplify them and simplify them and simplify them and make them more and more replicable and make them easier and easier to animate, right? It creates this institutional grinding pressure where it's not necessarily that any one person is making a decision that this is the kind of character design that we want, so much as it's a little bit easier. And it makes things a little bit cheaper, and it's easier to get a show made if the character designs are pretty simple, so we make them pretty simple, and then generations grow up seeing those character designs, become inspired by those character designs, and replicate those character designs, and then it repeats down the line, right? And it replicates all of the biases of society, right? It's part of why you get these cookie-cutter, interchangeable character designs that look like copy-pastes of each other is it's part of that, right? And so, especially for female characters, especially for female characters, there is this thing where every line that you add to a female's character's face, no matter what that line is, even if it's the tiniest smile line, if it is a little dimple, if it's any line, literally anything that could so much as be interpreted as the conception of a wrinkle, is understood to mean so much more about their age. Like, so many anime I can remember, it's like, there's a woman who's supposed to be in like her 50s or whatever, and the way that they render it is that she has like a crow's foot, and like she has like one line down from like the ridge of her nose towards the corner of her mouth. She has like one, right? And that's, oh, she's like in her 50s. That's an old woman. It's like, and that again is because challenging these beauty standards, challenging this ageism, challenging this preconceived notion that like of women should look a certain way. It's expensive. It costs time. It costs effort. It costs animation time. It requires a level of training, right? It requires you to work up style sheets and like animation turnarounds, and it all takes just a little bit of extra effort, right? And so these structural biases, like this structural weathering that pushes everything towards simplification, then also ends up amplifying the biases that exist in society already. Sexist biases that say that women should always be pretty, for example. It's not just one thing. It's not just one problem, right? It's everything influences and interconnects and flows into one another, and it's this big ball of yarn that's tangled up with itself. That's really hard. So anyway, my point is, what I was trying to get at, this is really nice. I like it when women get to have faces where they actually look old, like people do. That's cool. I enjoy that when that happens. Moving on. 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, you were imagining things, Tarta. It's fine. Don't worry about it. What, you wanted him to leave? Indeed. Good boy, Kiefer. Three, two, one, pause. Again, we see this tension, right, between what magic is and what magic can do, and then what people expect of it, right? The man sees a bit of, like, a couple of drops of water floating through the air and goes, okay, cool, like, there's the magic person who can wave their hands and make anything happen. Excellent. Problem is solved now, right? So people, like, everyone in this world lives with these deeply unrealistic expectations of what magic is and what it can do. And it's that thing that's very frustrating to the witches, and it will be frustrating to them again. We saw it also with Costas's father, right? But it's also a situation that they themselves have entirely engineered, right? They have forced people to remain ignorant of what magic can do, and so people will make demands of their magic, which witches cannot actually fulfill. Like, for example, hey, here's a child who's dying from a rare disease. You can do something about that, right? With magic. And then it's like, no, yeah, like, I can summon a bridge out of nothing, and I can fly, and I can throw fireballs the size of houses, and I can make water dragons, but I can't cure your child. Broken leg? I can't fix that. Nope, broken leg is beyond me. That's a hard thing to argue, right? And it is that thing of, like, when people make these demands of witches, that's not unreasonable, right? Like, it's like, oh, here's a person who can just clap their hands and then the problem goes away. Of course you're gonna run to them, right? And certainly that's also what witches are supposed to do, right? Like, that's part of how the pointed cap witches justify themselves. Like, we have this society where we have taken people's memories away, and we force our rules on the whole world. And part of the moral justification for that is that in return, we make ourselves servants of the people, right? Like, in return, we will use magic to make people's lives better. We will use it to make people happy. That's our duty. And again, there's this conflict running through the whole story between the duties that witches agree to take on versus what can actually you can actually expect a person to be capable of taking on. And there will be much more of that as the story goes. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, go. this whole sequence with Tarta. I'm desperate to talk, by the way, but I want to let this play. Okay, 3, 2, 1, pause. I needed to let that play out because, God, it's such a good fucking scene. God, it's good. What is magic for? It's the story, it's the constant question. What is magic for? By extension, what is creativity for? Right? What is it for? Why do we have it? Why do we use it? What do we do with it? I like the detail also. You see here in Tarta's vision, because the hat is not green to him, it was basically invisible against the floor. That's kind of why he missed it. So we get the commentary from Keyfree earlier, right? That which society is fairly intolerant of difference, right? Which society is not very interested in accommodating differences. And like that makes sense, right? Because, well, this is a society that is based on a strict orthodoxy, right? There are acceptable ways to use magic, there are unacceptable ways to use magic, and never the twain shall change, right? Like never this boundary shall be altered. Of course it's a society that's intolerant of difference because it's a society that's based on homogeneity, on everyone adhering to the same principles and the same structure and the same rules under the same circumstances, under the same, like, right. So of course it is. That's one of the cultural consequences of their society being so insular and organized in the way that it is. And that's part of Coco's role in the story. She's an outsider coming into this world. And she's like, she brings ideas in there that can only come from outside of the perspective that the witches already have, right? And so Tarta, with his silver wash, right? It's, well, we can't cure it because we can't cast spells on his body because that's not allowed. So that's he's just Silver Wash now forever. And then he can't do this and he can't do that and can't do those things. So, fuck him, make him a magic stationer, I guess, or whatever. Find him some apprentice place somewhere where he can make himself useful somehow, and then, yeah, whatever. Like, we're not interested in engaging further with his difference, right? The fact that he is disabled, well, we're not really interested in engaging with his disability because that's a problem that's unsolvable, and therefore we're not going to change anything to accommodate for it, right? Because we are a society that's based on homogeneity, that's based on the upkeep, the unchanging, unfailing upkeep of a specific tradition. So that attitude permeates downwards, right? Which society is the way it is because, because that's the foundation of their culture, is a hostility to heterodox thought, right? There are certain things that certain people just can't do. Which, again, is that thing of well, what is magic for, though? If not to help people do things that they couldn't otherwise do. And, like, we get this whole scene of Tarta being so clever for a kid. Like, this kid is also just 12, right? So clever, figuring out, wait, hang on. Of course, I could reverse the process. I could figure it out. I can rule things out. He has all of these capabilities, all of this talent, right? He's able to draw that spell pretty much perfectly with the skills that he had from doing the work that he was doing. Which, again, hey, remember how Coco found out that she was actually pretty capable of drawing magic because of the skills that she had from doing that work that she did with her mom? Oh, hey, look who else is actually uniquely well-suited to doing certain kinds of magic because of the experiences he's had, because of the craft that he has practiced, because of the life that he has lived. Outside of just being a witch all the time, this boy has been doing a whole bunch of other stuff, and that actually makes him capable of achieving some things. An apprentice witch, like a new apprentice who hasn't really drawn magic before, wouldn't be able to draw a perfect magic seal. We have established this in the story, right? Being able to draw a magic seal really well is really hard. Most people aren't able to do it. Tarda does it on his first fucking go because he has developed those skills elsewhere. And the story, like, this crossfade is, like, really, really, really explicit about the skills he has from here can also help him here, right? His experience in a magic stationery, all the stuff he has learned how to do with his disability are part of what makes him better suited to this. And it's this little shot as Tarda begins to draw. The witch hat lights up, right? Like the cap, this signifier of the fact that he belongs there. And we've seen Tarta, right? Like, we saw that in the scene with his friends in the last episode, that Tarta isn't wearing his cap most of the time. He really doesn't wear it most of the time. He's not wearing it in the shop. He puts it on when he absolutely has to, but he doesn't really put it on because he doesn't feel like he belongs to witch society, right? He doesn't feel like he really is a witch. He doesn't feel like he belongs in that world, so he doesn't wear that cap because that cap is one that says I'm a witch, but I'm not, right? Like, I'm not really, I don't belong here. But as he begins to draw, as he creates his own first spell, the way the light begins to light it up, right? And it sort of falls. And again, keep this detail about the cap in mind. Keep it in mind that Tarta didn't used to wear the cap. In fact, kind of refused to wear the cap. Just put it away and let it get really wrinkly and fucked up. Keep that in mind for later. You can imagine why. And it's a simple spell, right? Like as Coco says, this is not like high-level complex magic. It's magic that she knows, that she's figured out in her short time as an apprentice. It's a really simple spell, applied with a bit of creativity, and all of a sudden we have a disability accommodation that no one else could be bothered to even consider, right? No one else could be even bothered to think of, oh, well, we have fucking magic. Can we not find a way to give this kid access to the world a little bit more? No, he's shut out. It's an unsolvable problem. The world is stuck in place. The rules are the rules, and if you have this condition, we can't cure you. So therefore, there's no point. Like, fuck it, whatever. Fuck it. But Coco has that perspective, right? Of like, okay, maybe he can't distinguish colors, so maybe he has to be really careful about what kind of ink he works with. Maybe there are some limitations on what he can do, but it's fucking magic. We can find a way, right? There must be a thing we can do in some way to help make the world more visible to him. If his sight isn't capable of distinguishing all the things it needs to, there must be a way, right? And it's creativity between the two of them. And I love that they solve the problem together. Which is again, we saw this with the kids during the dragon episode when they were trapped in that other dimension. So much of the solving there was all of them coming together, talking it through, and bouncing their ideas off of each other and sharing them. And in creative collaboration, coming up with a completely novel solution, right? That none of them would ever have thought of on their own. This creative collaboration. Right? Coco doesn't have the necessary perspective. She doesn't have the necessary knowledge to make that spell work on her own. Neither does Tarta. But the two of them putting their minds together. Collaboration, right? Connection, cooperation. Sharing your creativity with someone else makes it better. Isolation, being alone with yourself, alone with your thoughts, alone in your creativity, weakens it, right? It makes you less capable. Hey, do we know anyone else in the story who has a tendency to isolate themselves away from the others and maybe shouldn't do that as much? Agat, do we know anyone? I can't think of Agat, anyone who could possibly have that problem, Agat, and who maybe also Agat needs to learn that lesson, Agat. I can't think of anyone. Couldn't possibly, but it's a theme. It's running through the story. And it's so... This fucking grow animation is so pretty. The rotation as the plant comes out, the way you can see, like, the leaves rotating around the axis like that. God, it's pretty. Coco's mom gave magic to Coco, right? By being supportive and nurturing her and being present for her and teaching her whatever skills that she had. That's what gave Coco her magic, right? That's why Coco is able to overcome the troubles that she was in, to learn how to apply her magic creatively, is because of her mom. It was that nurturing, that kindness. Tarta hasn't had that from people, right? People didn't reach out or try and help him or make accommodations or open the world up to him. They just kind of shut it away and said, oh, well, yeah, you're fucked, kid. There's nothing anyone can do about it. Guess we'll put you somewhere where you can, I don't know, do some apprentice work. But Coco... she's the light, right? She gives him the world back a little bit. In a way that no one else had bothered to do before. And it doesn't take a miracle. It doesn't take the world's most complicated spell seal. It takes just a little bit of effort to see the world from how he sees it, right? This fucking scene is so good. And it's one of the things where the anime gets a little bit of an advantage, because the anime can show the color blindness, right? In a way that in the manga, because it's black and white anyway, right? Like, we're all colorblind in the manga because there's no colors, right? We just kind of have to take it on faith that other characters can see the colors. But the anime has the advantage that it can put us inside Tartar's perspective in a way that the manga being black and white can't. I also do want to point this out. Good thing we checked, or this could have ended badly, right? Like, that's the other thing, is like that thing of when you act in ignorance, right? Like when you act without access to information, when you act without knowing what you're doing, tragedy can ensue. That's what happened to Coco, right? What happened to Coco was that she acted without knowing, and it caused a lot of damage. Same danger here, right? Tarda got quite far by just like process of elimination and using everything he knew and all the skills that he had available. But if he had acted without knowledge, he could have poisoned her. Again, there's that danger of like a little knowledge can be a dangerous thing. Ignorance is dangerous. Ignorance is very dangerous. And again, that tension of, hey, well, maybe it's a little bit dangerous to keep most of the world ignorant also. I don't know. Maybe that's something the story will come back to. Oh, hello. I'm getting a phone call. Give me a minute. Yeah, hello? Goddag. Ja, jeg har holdt øje med det over de sidste sådan 24 timers tid, og det ser ud til at være helt stabilt igen. Ja, så vidt jeg kan se, så er der ikke noget problem længere. Ja, tusind tak. Hej. There we go. That was my internet service provider. I've been having trouble with my connection, and I called them 2 days ago about fixing it, and they wanted to follow up and check if the problem had been fixed, and it has, thankfully. Anyway, it's such a good scene. Let's keep going. 3, 2, 1, go. Ooh, good bell animation. The guard over there. What a cool little device. The little thing with the bird taking flight, you know? You can't say that! Hey, Agat, are you having normal feelings? 3, 2, 1, pause. They're roommates. Also, Tetchin, you can't just speak Danish out of nowhere. You can't do that. It's pretty good. Hi, Medai. It's pretty good. Hi, Medai. It's not 100%. Like, it's pretty darn good, actually. Hi, Medai means hello to you, basically. Or literally means hello with you, but it's hey there, basically. It's a cheerful, informal greeting. Tetch's VA is Dutch American. Yeah, like I've certainly, like I've said before, Tetch's accent feels more Dutch than Danish in many places. Dutch is close to Denmark. No, it's not. It really isn't. What? No, that's not even remotely true. On the map, it is. No, it's not. What are you, crazy? Listen, there is like a whole fucking stretch of Germany between Denmark and the Netherlands. I know, like, for Americans, like, obviously the distance between Denmark and Netherlands is like the kind of distance you drive to visit your grandma if you live in one of the larger United States. I know Europe is very small and compressed, but like, my goodness, my gracious, my precious little babies. It's like I'm being a little silly. Danish and Dutch have a lot of similarities because they are both Germanic languages, right? And they both derive from the same language family as each other, as the same as German, right? So there's a lot of overlap grammatically. There's a bunch of overlap in the vocabulary. And so like Danish and Dutch are not that far apart. They're not as far apart as like Danish and Finnish are, for example, because Finnish is it, what's it called? The language family Finno-Ugaritic. I think it's one of the Ugaritic languages, if I don't miss my guess. So there is definitely overlap, right? And Dutch especially is kind of a bastard language of Europe, because the Dutch have always been such a heavily connected trading nation. The Dutch language has a lot of language features that they've picked up from pretty much all of their neighbors. So they like Dutch is often very close to German, right? Like there's a lot of overlap with German specifically, but they also take a lot from French. They also do get a lot from the Scandinavian languages. That sort of mixes in there, which makes the Dutch incomprehensible. Like the Dutch speak like 5 languages and smoke weed all the time and can understand everyone, but literally no one else can understand the Dutch worth a damn. So like no, Denmark and the Netherlands, like they're not leagues, they're not like worlds apart, but they're not like the closest neighbors to the Netherlands is Belgium and Germany, right? And the closest neighbors to Denmark are Sweden and Norway, and you can really tell because Swedish, Danish, and Norwegian, I can read Norwegian and Swedish. I don't necessarily speak it that well, but I can understand it, right? Like I can comprehend more or less when a depending on where they're from, I will say, depending on where the Swede is from, depending on where the Norwegian is from, I can sort of comprehend a Swede if they speak a little bit slowly, right? Because our 3 languages are basically siblings. Like they are so closely related to one another that like I when I was at university, we were given Swedish and Norwegian textbooks, and we just read them because it's like you don't need to take Swedish language class in order to read Swedish. But I could not read Dutch for the life of me. I can't understand Danish as a Swedish speaker. Yeah, I mean that's fair enough because Danish is, as we've talked about, it's the language for drunk potato farmers, right? As we've talked about, Danish is unique in that we have so many fucking vowels. Like Danish, I do believe it is that Danish has the most vowel sounds of any language in the world. So Danish does tend to be like, I think it's 27 vowel sounds or something along this. 23 maybe it's 23. Can't remember, but it's a lot. It's many vowel sounds, so Danish does tend to sound like it tends to sound like a long string of blah, rah, 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 right? So Danish is very hard. It's very hard to understand, but Swedes can generally read Danish okay. Same with Norwegians. But yeah, it's like German, English, Danish, Swedish, Dutch. What are the other ones? Like the Germanic language family is like it's the 3 main major Scandinavian peninsula countries: English, and then like once you get further south towards Italy, France, Spain, those are the Romance languages. The ones that tend to draw more from Latin and has like their own sort of language family. And then once we get into, I'm looking at Google Maps right now. I'm just looking over because like Poland is when you get into the Slavic languages. Like that's not very. It's really interesting. Like the difference between Polish and German is such worlds apart relative to the difference between Danish and German. And you get into like the Cyrillic alphabet, like the Cyrillic alphabet language families. Yeah. Anyway, I'm flashing back to the few years of linguistics I took at university. What were we talking about? Right, Witch Hat Atelier. We were fucking watching an anime, weren't we? Haimedai. Oh, now I'm thinking, what would their accents be in Danish? If there was a Danish dub of Witch Hat Atelier, Coco would have to have like a country bumpkin accent, right? She would have to have like a farmer's accent. So that would be probably my accent, actually, south of Fyn, with the long vowels, or else Jylland. But Tetcha, I feel like, since she comes from witch society, it'd be more like a Copenhagen accent for her, right? Surely. Certainly for Agat, she would speak Rigsdansk. She would speak the Queen's Danish. And then Reshape, she would probably have a Swedish accent, wouldn't she? She would have like Swedish accented, like she's from Malmö or something. That would be funny. Oh god, Orugia would have to be. Oh no! Oh fuck! Orugia would have to be either from Ama or he would have to be from Aarhus. Either of those options would be valid, given that he's supposed to be sort of a Sheffield, the like northerner from England. Oh no, that's terrible. Anyway, what are we talking about? Right. Inverting the signs when you draw them reverses their effects. Huh. That's an interesting bit of setup to get. I wonder if that's going to be important later. Oh, God. Your relationship with Coco is going to get so much better. And again, the way the show uses light, right? Like, very deliberate. That here, as Coco is sitting there with Kiefer, we're going through like this lovely, cool little forest meadow. But as Coco reflects on the ray of hope, right? Like the hope she has for saving her mom, once again, light, sunlight coming into the light. That's gonna happen all the time. Like, this is one of the consistent visual motifs that the anime will be using, is bringing light to dark places. Also, the symbol of Tata's hat, right? His hat, when we see him, right, in the start, when he's like playing with his friends and things, the hat is crumbled up. It's lying in his pouch, right? It's this crumbled up, like, messy thing that he's carrying around like a burden, right? Like a fucking, like a tedious proof of passage that he has to bear with him. And it's slack, right? It's slack and it's kind of limp and it's useless and it's just this thing. And now it's a proper witch's hat, right? Like, it's energetic, it's alive, right? It was dead. It was this dead thing that he had to carry with him, but he couldn't make any use of it, right? Like, it wasn't useful to him, it wasn't helpful to him, but Coco has given him his magic, right? Like, she has, in the same way magic was given to her, she has given it to him. And so we get that signifier of the hat, right? It's lovely. And yes, Coco and Tarta is a very valid ship. It absolutely is. And, you know, like, Coco has two hands. And with magic, she could probably have more. Anyway, let's watch the end of it. 3, 2, 1, go. Is he a fucking Cockney? Oh my god, they made him Cockney. Oh my god. Oh my god. Is he gonna go up with the apples and pears? Oh my god. If they make him do rhyming slang even one time, I'm quitting this anime. I'm quitting it. Again, the visual language, right? Like, Agot is separate from the others. She wants to be separate from the others. Coco isn't letting her. It's because they're roommates. Because they're very good friends. Very good friends. They are friendly friends. Whom's to be pals while being gals at the same time. It's amazing. the places that fucking. What's next after this? I'm trying to remember. Because next after this is the next test, right? And they're not gonna be able to finish that out with only two or three episodes to work with. So they're not finishing the test. So I think I know where they're gonna cut it then. What a place to cut it to. Oh boy. You're not ready for how, but then I'm trying to remember, because the next story arc, Ricci has a part to play there, a really important part, one that I am very excited to get to, and now I'm sitting here trying to game it out in my head whether they're gonna get to it, because I hope I don't have to wait 2.5 years or however long for the next season to get to that bit, because. Anyway, I guess there's only one way to find out, and that's to watch more episodes, which we're going to do right now. But if you're on YouTube, sorry, you're going to have to wait for 5 days or so for that to get there. Unless you're a member, in which case you get it as soon as it gets uploaded. But yeah, I'm going to move on. I need to see the next episode. Bye.